Welcome to the moving presentation for the Rosenberg Housing Authority. You are watching this video because you have requested to move, and so this video will go through the process that you will need to take in order to find a new unit by the time your current lease expires. So the question is, can you move at any time? The answer is no. When you are on the Housing Choice Voucher Program, you must always assure that you are not breaking the contract with your landlord and that the Housing Authority has approved your move. Just know, if you want to move in the middle of your lease, you will be obligated to pay relating fees to your landlord. Fees may apply. This is an issue between you and the landlord and is not something that the Housing Authority can remedy for you. You are always free to move after your first year on the program under the following conditions. You need to make sure that you owe no money to the Housing Authority, that you do not owe back rent or debt to your current landlord, and that there are no program or lease violations. You are allowed to move only one time per year. Now, it is important to note that you are not allowed to move or get off of housing at the end of your lease without providing proper notice. And you need to look at your lease from your landlord and make sure that you follow their conditions in order to move. If you choose to move at the end of your lease and you are in the re-exam process, then the RHA will guide you through the process and provide the written notice to be given to the landlord. You must also submit all your required verification for your re-exam before you will be allowed to move. If you choose to move out of your recertification period, you will then need to initiate the move process by sending in a move request packet. Once approved, the Rosenberg Housing Authority will send you a mutual rescission, including the ending date of your lease. You need to take it to your landlord. You'll agree on that date, and you both sign it and return it to the Housing Authority. You can do that through email, or you can drop it off at the office. If you do not want to move within the Rosenberg Housing Authority's jurisdiction, but you would rather port to another jurisdiction, you will also be provided with the portability request. You'll just need to fill out the contact information for the Housing Authority that you would like to port to, and we'll take care of that. The moving packet you receive will have the following things in it. You should have a voucher that you will need to sign that will expire within 60 days, which should coincide with the last day of your lease. You will have a rent estimator that will indicate the maximum amount of rent that you are able to pay for your selected unit, and it will give you an estimate on how much you're going to be required to pay each month, and that is dependent upon the income that we have verified. There will be a yellow inspection packet. This is the packet that you will take to your landlord. You will fill out everything that is listed under tenant or participant. Your landlord will fill out the remaining of the packet. This will be the packet that indicates the unit that you wish to move to. You do not want to return this packet to the Housing Authority until you have been approved by the landlord and are eligible to move into that unit. If you are not eligible, you cannot submit the packet. Again, if you are not eligible, you cannot submit that packet. You will be given a list of apartments that work with the Rosenberg Housing Authority. You are not required to go off that apartment list. You're not required to use any landlord that has already been approved by the Rosenberg Housing Authority. You can always go out and find a new landlord, and we'll go through the certification process with them. If you choose to use a new landlord, the landlord will need to attend a required landlord briefing held every Wednesday at 10 and 2. You can also go out to gosection8.com. Landlords that are interested in working with the Housing Authority can list their units on this site, and we've also enabled our current landlords who have assistance check to be able to list their properties that they have available. If during the process you decide that you cannot find a place and you wish to stay in your current unit, then you will also have a stay form that you can fill out, indicating that you'd rather not move. That is contingent on whether the landlord has leased out your unit or not. If you come at a later time or you have received prior authorization to do so, your voucher might extend past the time in which your lease expires. The housing authority will not assist you after your lease expires. You will be required to pay on your own until we can move you into a new unit. This is the housing authority's jurisdiction map. We show all the zip codes that we cover fully, and some of the zip codes we cover partially. We will only cover units that are actually within Fort Bend County. If you at any time lose this jurisdiction map or want to look at it, you can find it at our website. Again, if you go under Families, and then you'll go to Find Housing, and then there's going to be a link for a jurisdiction map. When you're deciding where to live, you want to keep a few things in mind. You want to make sure that the unit or the house that you're going to is going to meet your family's needs. You want to look at the schools that your kids may be attending and how far your unit is from the school. Do they have a bus that will shuttle the kids to the school? You want to look at maybe the safety of the school. You'll also want to look at the neighborhood and its surroundings. You want to avoid those high crime areas. You also will want to go and look at the unit or the house at different times during the day, maybe in the morning, maybe in the evening, and see other people congregating around and decide, are you going to feel safe here or not? Is it close to your work, or are there working opportunities close to your unit? Will you be able to get your child to childcare if you're working? Is there any public transportation? If you need public transportation, you do not have a vehicle, this will be very important. And here again, look at the premises, look at the neighborhood. You will have to stay here for 1 year, so you want to make sure that this unit or house is going to meet all your needs. Some things to keep in mind. When you port to another housing authority, their rules will now apply and ours will not. They will have different subsidy standards, which means they might allow fewer or less people per bedroom. They will have different payment standards for a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom. They might be less, they might be more than the Rosenberg Housing Authority's payment standards. You will need to be rescreened. You will have to fill out an application. You will have to provide all your verification documents. They will go over their policies with you. Just remember that once we port you, you have 60 days on your voucher in which you need to complete the portability process, complete the interview, and go to look for a unit. So keep that in mind if you're choosing to port. Once the receiving housing authority has your documentation, they should schedule an appointment with you within 14 days of receiving that portability packet. And they should issue you a voucher on the day of your appointment so that you can go ahead and get their jurisdiction map, get their inspection packet, and start looking for a unit. Like I said, if you are choosing to port outside the housing authority's jurisdiction, you will need to return the requests for portability. You will also still need to return that mutual rescission form because the landlord still needs to know that you plan on moving at the end of your lease. You will not be allowed to move into that new housing authority's jurisdiction until the end of your lease in your contract with the Rosenberg Housing Authority. Once we've received your information and you are choosing to stay within Rosenberg, you will need to return the yellow inspection packet to the housing authority along with the receipt of the paid security deposit. We will then schedule an inspection with the new landlord as soon as they state that the unit is available, and then you will be allowed to move into the new unit once the unit has passed inspection and once you are at the end of your current lease. Now keep in mind that we are not going to begin payment on that new unit until we've received some things from you. Just because the unit has passed, your responsibility is not over. You still need to go sign a lease with your new landlord. We need to receive that lease so you can bring it in, or the landlord can send it to us so that we can start a contract with the landlord. Just keep in mind that this monthly payment on the recertification form may vary from the rent estimator that you had received previously. This is what your certification looks like. You want to make sure that you take a look at that because you want to know what your tenant share is. This is what you're going to be required to pay, and you want to know what the effective date is. Some things to keep in mind. Once you provide your landlord with that mutual rescission form, and you have both signed that rescission form, that allows the landlord to start looking for a tenant to lease your existing apartment once you come to the end of your lease. You may run into a situation where the new unit has not passed inspection, but your landlord has rented out the current unit. In this situation, you will need to make suitable arrangements for you and your family. So if you're within the 60 days of your voucher and you are unable to find a unit in time, just know that you might not be able to remain in that unit if the landlord has already rented out that current unit. You might still have to move instead, and if you cannot find a place to move to, you would then be terminated from the program. If you fail to attend your moving briefing on the designated day that we've set up for you without prior notice, you will forfeit your ability to move. The voucher is timed and your receipt of it is timed to coincide with the end of your lease, so that there's no break from moving from one apartment to the other. You need to make sure that you do not ever pay more in rent to your landlord than the amount that's designated on your certification. You cannot have an agreement with your landlord on the side to pay more. You must only pay for rent the amount that is designated on the certification form. When the owner is asking for security deposits, it can never exceed the rent that they are charging for 1 full month, and you cannot move into your new unit until it passes inspection. If you do that, you are responsible for the full amount of rent until the housing authority has had an opportunity to inspect the unit. Remember that the housing authority only assists you with your rent. The additional fees that they charge, such as for utilities, pet deposits, renter's insurance, valet trash, whatever other fees they decide to tell you about or you decide to include, these must be paid by you, so you want to make sure you have enough money in your budget to pay for these fees plus your rent. Please keep in mind that when you're speaking to your landlord about any concerns, about problems, about needed repairs, always speak to them in a courteous and respectful manner. Do not threaten them, do not raise your voice. Things will go a lot easier for you if you just treat everyone with respect. So, in order to wrap up, thank you for your attention today. We want you to remember that we are your housing advocates, that we are here to help you, but we are not your landlord, and any issues between you and your landlord regarding the lease must be resolved between you and the landlord. The housing authority cannot get involved. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions or concerns, you can still call us at 281-342-1456. You can contact us on assistancecheck.com, or you can email us at rha@rosenbergha.org. Thank you.